Well, good morning, everybody. Hoping you're seeing the right thing on the screen here. I believe you are. The Bible in a year 2021, day 52. And this is Leviticus 24 and 25. We don't have much further to go in Leviticus, so let's get on with this. So let's start with verse 2. Where there's a lot of symbolic stuff, and some of you guys listening on this, uh, you know a lot of these things. You've studied this, and that's not really the purpose of why we're going through this to look at all that. This is a relational study, um, and it is interesting. It's very interesting if you sit down and you figure out all the symbolism here. But there are some that we need to carry forward, and one of them is the lamp. Verse 2: Command the Israelites to bring pure pressed olive oil to you for the lamp, to keep a light burning constantly. This is that covenant light that is constantly being burned. And we understand going forward where we are now, that Jesus is that light to us. He's that light of the covenant. Um, it's the covenant, the Father's covenant with us, and he's just absolutely brilliant to us, and we in turn, we are that light in this world, that we show the righteousness of God, the love of God, that all that he is revealed in us, just as all that the Father is revealed to us through Jesus. Jesus is that light of the covenant. And then we have the bread that's there. You must place them in two stacks. He's talking about the bread of the covenant that is there. Two stacks, six in a stack on the pure table before the Lord. And and we know in earlier, as we read through this, that there's 12 representing each tribe. Each tribe has their um, own loaf of bread there. And what has happened with Jesus is that has been reversed. That bread was there to remind Yahweh in his presence all the time, as a reminder of the 12 tribes, just there as a reminder. Jesus is the bread of heaven now. It's the Father who has provided the bread. It's not us who provides the bread. He has provided the bread. And this is a reminder of the covenant. Jesus is constantly the reminder of the covenant. He is that covenant bread for us. That when we consider Jesus, we are reminded of the covenant that the Father has made with us. It's just it's just symbolic, but it's there for us. There's a lot of symbolism, in our faith, in what the Father has provided for us, because He doesn't want us involved with with idols, but He has placed things in our heart, and in the storytelling and all that sort of stuff, just to remind us of the things that has been promised, and that's really important. In 24, in Leviticus 24:16, um, we get into some of the harder stuff, and we have here, and anyone who blasphemes the Lord's name must be executed. See, what's being done here is that, um, the respect of the glory, the respect of Yahweh's glory, the respect of Yahweh, the respect of everything that is related to Yahweh is being established here. And there's big punishments for not um, showing that respect. And you have to remember that this is not a relationship that they've been forced into. This is a relationship they were invited to. They had choices here, and in joining into this covenant, these are the things that their eyes being kept wide open here. These are the things. These are the agreements. This is the understanding that has to happen here. Yahweh's going to do all these things, but the Israelites need to do this as well. And one of those things is just to respect Him, to respect everything associated to Him, just to respect that glory. So the whole community will stone that person, anybody who blasphemes, that is, immigrant and citizen alike. Whenever someone blasphemes the Lord's name, that person will be executed. So we're establishing that respect there. Um, I have no idea what was happening with my typing skills. Uh, I guess while I was teaching the kids, I was trying to do up these slides. But yeah, many mistakes here this morning, guys. So yeah, just to show you that level of imperfection that we sometimes rise to, right? Leviticus 24, 17. What we're seeing here is there is a limited revelation. It's supposed to be revelation. There's a limited revelation. Um, because of this limited revelation, uh, it really, because of that limitation, it resulted in having to use deterrents. Jesus came to tell us that we have that responsibility to love one another. We have the responsibility to love our enemy. We have this. This is what it is to be in this relationship, and send, you know, us. Believing in him, we are born into a new creation, which gives us this capacity. The Holy Spirit coming gives us this capacity to be what he always intended us to be, in character wise, in loving. But where they are now, they're not. This is behavior modification that is happening here. It is not going to the source of it. It's not going to the heart of it. It's not a change of heart. It's a change of behavior. And there's a big difference. The law could not help them get to that place. All the law could do is define what was holy and what was common. That's all the law was able to do. The law was able to expose, the law was able to bring that light of exposure into situations, and to define what is right and what is wrong, and make it clear. But to help people to walk in righteousness, no, that wasn't possible, and that's why they needed the sacrifice system. So we read here, if anyone kills another person, they must be executed, and it goes on. And really, what we're talking about here is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and that's what goes on here. Whatever damage you cause is the damage that would be inflicted upon you, and these are deterrents. This is to stop people from hurting each other. That's what this is supposed to be about, because that's really the only tool that's in the arsenal right now, is this thing, because the heart can't be transformed yet, and that's why Israel has this ongoing struggle, because the law wasn't enough. The law itself could not do what needed to be done, and is the reason why Jesus came. So that's why we're reading this. This doesn't make it through the cross, people. It doesn't make it past the cross. And there's a lot of Christians who argue that this is the case. They argue for the death penalty and all this sort of stuff. And by doing that, you're eliminating the cross. You're eliminating what Jesus has done. He has taken us from this behavior modification, and he's brought us into the motivation. He's brought us to the heart of the matter. We have to keep reminding ourselves of that as we read through this. This shows that these things have great value for our Father. We look at this and we see the value. There's value in life. There is value in human life. There's even value in animal life. There is, when an animal is killed, that restitution has to be paid, not at the same level as what it is when you kill a person. You kill a person, you forfeit your life. You kill an animal, well, you've got to pay compensation for that animal, because that animal had value. So we're seeing here the Father's heart when it comes to values. And I noticed this. We have this man, half Israelite, half Egyptian, who turned around and he blasphemed. He used the Lord's name in the wrong way, breaking one of the commandments, and so this is the first really example of following through on the consequences. But it's the last part here. And so Moses told this to the Israelites. So they took the one who had cursed outside the camp and stoned him. The Israelites did just as the Lord commanded Moses. We see this so many times all the way through this. The Israelites did just as the Lord commanded Moses. Are we talking about the same people here? These are the same people before, and we know what's yet to come. And these are the same people. This seems just to be the golden age right here, the golden age of obedience. It doesn't get any better than this. In this short period of time, when everything is being established and they're all paying attention and they're all following and they're all obeying, right here is the golden age of obedience. And I'm not sure that there's another age that got any better than this. Now over to Leviticus 25, in verse 4. I just want to point this out. It's the follow system, fallow system. It's where you leave the land alone. You allow it to have rest. So in the seventh year, it's always the seventh, right? In the seventh year, the land will have a special Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. You must not plant your fields or prune your vineyards. You were allowed to harvest anything that was naturally grown, but you weren't allowed to cultivate the land at all. You had to give it rest. It would produce whatever it produced, but you give it rest. And this is something that is still uh, practice. I think we've all studied in school the crop rotation, and there's a period where you leave that soil alone. You plant different crops at different times, you rotate them around to add. It just naturally adds different nutrients and takes out different nutrients. Each crop has a different requirement, and so this is, they don't know anything about agriculture. They're shepherds. That's what they do, and the Lord is giving them lessons here on how you look after the land. Yeah, this is important, and he builds it into their whole rest system. It gets built in here. So it's on a bigger scale. You have 6 days a week. On the seventh day, you take rest. So you have 6 years to plant your crops. On the seventh year, you give the land rest. Um, and then we have this incredible year of Jubilee that's described for us in chapter 25, verse 10. Uh, this is just a phenomena. This is just, you won't find this in any other society. This is just amazing. You will make the 50th year holy, proclaiming freedom throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It will be a jubilee year for you. Each of you must return to your family property and to your extended family, and 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 everything has to be returned. So, like if you owned a house in the country and you needed to sell that house, I'm not actually going to get um, to buy that house. Basically, I'm renting it. And look at this. On the 10th day of the seventh month of the 49th year, this is when it is declared. It's referred to as the 50th year because the seventh month, you're pretty well near the end of the 40th 49th year, but it's marked off in 7 weeks, and it's the whole the way to measure it. You read it yourself. It's all there. I don't need to go over that again with you. But it's all these seven times seven, right? It gives you the 49. So it's in the seventh month. It's 7 times 7 plus the seventh month. That's when it's declared. It's on the 10th day though. They only carry that so far, but isn't it interesting? It's 777, right? 777. Yeah. Um, so what happens is that if I buy something from you, I'm not really buying it from you. I'm basically renting it according to the number of years that are left before the Jubilee. So if you're a farmer and you needed money and you sold me one of your fields, you're basically selling me. Let's say we did it like 45 years away from the Jubilee. You're selling me 45 crops. Is basically, so I'm renting from you that land for 49 crops or for 45 crops. Is the way it works. You will buy from your fellow citizen according to the number of years since the Jubilee. He will sell you according to the number of years left for harvest. And it was on everything. Everything just, it was like that reset button. Every 50 years, the reset button got hit. It's just an amazing system. It's amazing because it never leaves the family. But if I need quick cash, I can sell it, using that term lightly. I can sell it so I can have some quick cash, but it will never leave the family. It will come back to the family. Different rules for the city, different rules for the Levites, but we don't need to get into all that. Um, so in verse 2021, we see the seventh principle. That's what I'm just referring to it as. Okay, the seventh principle, and it's just beautiful. This relationship is just beautiful. The way that the Yahweh is developing a just society here. What this is supposed to look like. If they had stuck to the plan, it's just an awesome country, just absolutely awesome people that really reflect the glory of Yahweh, that reflect His perfection, that reflect His justice, that reflect His love and compassion and tenderness and mercy. And so you look at this and it says, suppose you ask, what will we eat in the seventh year if we don't plant or gather our crops then? I will send my blessing on you in the sixth year so that it will make enough produce for 3 years. See, it's the same principle, isn't it, as the manna? They've been living this principle for a year now, um, that on the sixth day, they gather up enough, so they don't need anything on the seventh day, because nothing's going to be on the seventh day. That's a day of rest. Nothing's going to happen on that day. You get double the portion on the sixth day, and you prepare all your food, so you're not even cooking on the seventh day. Everything's prepared on that seventh day, so or sixth day, so you can have that day of rest. So it's the same principle here, except that it's going to be 3 times the amount, because you don't get to harvest anything in that you know um, seventh year, and so on the first year of the next cycle, you're going to plant. You still don't get to harvest because you didn't harvest and you didn't plant in that seventh year. So that's 1 year. The second year, which is the first year of the next cycle, there's nothing to harvest because you didn't plant the year before. So now you're going to plant. So that's two there. Okay. And so in the third year, there's going to be a harvest, but you still need food for the first part of the year before the harvest. So that's the third year there. So it's mathematics. It's all worked out. That's how much Yahweh is thinking, and this is a principle that is in place, so that always that He provides before the Sabbath. He provides. It's just it's good stuff. It really is. Um, so in verse 23, we see something very very interesting, and I don't think we have this mentality myself. But he clearly says the land must not be permanently sold because the land is mine. That he's explaining again about the Jubilee. The land must not be permanently sold because the land is mine. It's not yours. You are just immigrants and foreign guests of mine. This is His land, His land. And I know growing up that this was often the talk, that everything belonged to the Lord, and we were just stewards of those things. I don't hear that talk so much anymore. I'm not sure that we've held on to that whole understanding that everything belongs to the Lord, and we are just supposed to be good stewards of those things. So when He demands them, it's not a loss to us because it was never ours to begin with. And when He gives it to us, it's not something that enriches us in that way, uh, because it belongs to Him. Our treasures, as Jesus explained to us, are laid up in heaven. That's where it's safe. Nothing can get to them. But on this earth, we thank him for the resources he gives to us, but they're his resources and they're lent to us, and we have to take care of them, and we have to be careful with that. Um, in verse 35, this is beautiful. The seventh month. We know about the seventh day, right? And then we have the seventh month. We have the day of rest, and then we have a special day on the seventh month. So if one of your fellow Israelites faces financial difficulty, as in shaking situation with you, you must assist them as you would an immigrant or foreign. Okay, I did it to me again. So I've messed this up. Okay, that title was supposed to have changed, but anyway, we're dealing here. Um, um, the attitude. Sorry, it's the attitude here. If one of your fellow Israelites faces financial difficulty, okay, it's this attitude that they look after each other. It's not taking advantage of someone. It's lending money without a usury, without charging interest. It's not to say that that person's not to pay it back. It's just that you're not going to charge them interest for it, because this is a brother or sister in this big family, this big nation. Um, you know, it's something that we're supposed to see in the church. It really is. We're supposed to see this in the church. It's supposed to change us, and we're supposed to look after each other and watch over each other and protect each other. And this is the attitude that we're supposed to have. And we have to ask ourselves, do we have this attitude? Do we have this attitude? Is this who we are? Is this who we are as a people? Do we love each other? Do we protect each other? Do we watch over each other? We're seeing we're seeing the Lord try to legislate this, but I think it was more a message that's sent to us in this day, in this age. It lets us see the root. It allows us to see the value that he places in this. So that when Jesus says to us, today I give you a new commandment, love each other in the same manner that I have loved you. There are some things that are just planted here as seeds for us so that we can understand. What it comes down to is that some things get tolerated. When you read through this section, it can be hard to stomach. It really, really can. And it's not that, um, man, slavery is a hard thing to deal with, because we live in something that's been experienced over the last few hundred years. Um, and we really focus on one group of people who face horrendous um, acts of slavery. And when your own people sell you as a slave, it's pretty bad. And we know that the same thing was happening with the Irish, and it's nothing new. It's been around for a very, very long time. And people would sell their own relatives into slavery. At this time, this is what would happen. People would sell themselves into slavery, and what we have is Yahweh set up a system, the Jubilee, so that those who had to found themselves in a place of selling themselves into slavery, they would be returned. They would be freed during that year. that slavery would not be able to persist, and the children of that situation would not. It wouldn't be a generational slavery that took place. And we look at this, and we have to understand that there are just some things that Yahweh, um, he the law could only change so much. The law didn't have the power to change hearts, and so he put in a system that would bring some justice and some fairness to intolerable situations, to make them a little more tolerable until we get to that age when his heart could be better understood and greater revelation given. And it's like before the law came in, nobody understand what morality looked like. They didn't. There was no consequences for behavior towards people. Then the law was given, and a bunch of consequences were put in place as well. But they didn't. It didn't. All it could do is define. Um, you know, behavior. That's all it could do, is just define it, and it took the actions of Jesus Christ to bring us into a place where hearts are changed, where redemption happens, when lives are redeemed, situations are redeemed. And even then, it's been an ongoing revelation. You look at the even with the birth of the church and onwards, we still see abuses, we still see things that were wrong throughout the centuries, and it's still an ongoing revelation into the heart of the Father, into His values, into what matters to Him, to this very present age. And we know we still struggle with the very simple thing of love your enemy. We know that. And when we receive greater revelation of that, that's when hearts change and things change, the society changes, the church changes, the whole thing. Because there was a time where Christians did not see anything wrong with owning a person as a piece of property, and they use the Old Testament quite often to justify that. But the Old Testament was for a different age and a different group of people and a different things that were going on, and a lack of revelation. And we can't confess, we can't say that we had a lack of revelation. Jesus Christ gave us revelation, but that revelatory knowledge still took a lot of traditions to have to penetrate to get to a place where change could actually take place. So even to this day, there are still freedoms that have not yet been realized because of the lack of a cooperation and revelatory knowledge that is needed. So yeah, and some people struggle over this because they don't look at the Bible as a relational thing. They don't they just look at it as a set of laws, and they say, well, why would I worship a God that would allow this to happen? And it wasn't a matter of allowing it to happen. It was a matter of slowly bringing that revelation in. As we, and this is the whole reason, whole approach that we've been doing this since Genesis, is showing, highlighting, pointing out as new things are discovered about Yahweh, as things are changed. Now there is a huge fast track here with the giving of the law, but it's still it's still a lot of working out, and we know Israel still struggled over this, and they didn't have the power to get to the height that they were supposed to get to, and Yahweh knew that, and that's why the plan of the Son was also there and was being worked out. So yeah, if you could please try to just see it that way. If you could see it from a relational thing of revelation that is given over a period of time, then you can understand these things. It's like where we're sitting now with our understanding of Yahweh. We were sitting with Job there for a while, and if we compare Job to where we are now in the scriptures, we'll see that Job knew very little compared to what Yahweh is revealing right now. Job hardly knew anything. And so when we look at this law and we see the revelation that was given through Jesus Christ, we know that the Israelites know very little. They know the law, but they don't know anything deeper than that. So they know very little. And Yahweh has to help them through. And unfortunately, they don't do a good job of it. Okay, so I that's a lot of words. I just hope that you can capture, you can just try to capture the attitude and the vision and the understanding here. You guys be blessed. Glad that you are here with me doing this, and I pray that you have a fantastic day, and that you'll have even deeper revelation of who our Lord and King and Father is. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Thanks for being on the journey. God bless.